Let's get the read on that from Democrat strategist and former advisor to President Bill Clinton, Hank Sheinkopf. Hank, thank you for being with us here today. You look thrilled.
Thank you.
Appreciate having you with us.
I like Fox. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, well, we're happy to have you. Tim Walz is at the top of the food chain, the top of the totem pole, as James Carville would say it. That's your major league starter, or do you have to go deeper into the minors?
Well, what you should do if he's the candidate, save your money and buy a house, because he's not going to be the candidate and he's not going to be the president of the United States. Really simple.
Oh, that's nice and really simple. I agree. So out of curiosity, this is sheer personal curiosity, how would a candidate or those around themselves convince themselves that they have a legitimate shot at the presidency? It seems like anybody would be able to say to Tim Walz, hey, man, I'm not seeing president.
Now, look, Harold Stassen tried to be a Republican and run for president, 8 times, or some number like that. It happens in both parties. There are people who have an idea and they won't let go of it. And Tim Walz really should let go of it and finish his gubernatorial term and figure out what he wants to do next. But he's not going to be president of the United States.
Okay, so first of all, there's been a debate about who's going to be the voice of the Democrat Party. It's pretty clear it's in the wilderness right now. David Hogg, who is, for the time being, I believe, the vice president of the DNC, that's going to be contested. He has a voice that he sees as strong for Democrats, and it is Jasmine Crockett. Here is David Hogg.
I think Jasmine is frankly the type of leader that we're really looking to support in some senses, right? Somebody who is out there that frankly doesn't give a damn what the other side, at least the elected Republicans in Congress say what they believe in. And at least even if you don't agree with her, you know what she stands for. Yeah. Because she makes it very clear. And people are really craving that right now.
What do you think, Hank, about David Hogg's endorsement of Jasmine Crockett?
Definitely should be put in a corner for talking too much and have a moment of silence, unquestionably so. That would be a disaster for Democrats. What Democrats should be looking for is someone like Rahm Emanuel, somebody who knows how to move to the center, who's actually been a governor, run something, has been the chief of staff to the president of the United States, has been really an ambassador, understands foreign affairs, and would be a terrific candidate and knows how to run campaigns. What they're looking for is Shangri-La, and that's not in the United States. It's only in a novel by James Hilton, and they should stop it.
But I want to give a little bit of a hat tip toward David Hogg or anyone else that is even thinking of a figure like Jasmine Crockett or AOC. The hat tip is this, Hank. They know they need some charisma, some personality, something. Now, unfortunately, in those two examples, that's all there might be. That's all there might be when it comes to AOC. But you talking about Rahm Emanuel, which is a name I've increasingly heard recently, okay, experience in leadership, experience in policy, but no offense to Rahm, not cup running over when it comes to charm. You're going to have to thread this needle of where you can appeal to people, not just through your policy, but with your personality.
Well, I think that you can resolve that. If people are an extremist that want to look for leadership, let's look at the Republican Party for a second. Barry Goldwater, a principled, decent man, got his you-know-what kicked, but set the stage for modern conservatism as we know it. It took the Republicans 16 years to recover until they elected one Ronald Reagan, who was charming, good to the camera, and then, frankly, should have been removed probably in the latter part of his term because he had Alzheimer's. The difference is that there was more media coverage of what goes on today than there was then. So putting things in context, the Democrats need what the Republicans needed at the time. They need somebody with energy, charisma, the sense of confidence that will restore American belief in them. And the Democrat problem is that they've got to bring those constituencies together instead of just being a bunch of clans. They've got to be a party. And
that figure, Hank, is missing right now. That figure, there is no starting pitcher on the mound. There's no one to send out there for your team. I got to leave it here, Hank. I would say the one other thing about Ronald Reagan is not just simply a difference in media presence, is that Ronald Reagan, unlike Joe Biden, wasn't yet seeking again another term as president under those conditions. So I think that's an important distinction
entirely.
As well. Yeah.
Agree entirely, and I think well said.
All right. Thank you so much, Hank. Great conversation. We'll see you again next time.
Hope so.
Okay. Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.